Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Rwagnation League Season 5 F2 races. We are here in Australia. I'm Ben Raggy McConnell, and joining me is the incredibly awesome Safso. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you doing tonight?
As good as the weather. Look at it. It's nice and sunny. Well, in-game it is. Outside in the real world, it's a little bit miserable and damp and grey, shall we say. But the bit that we care about is the bit that's on the circuit, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's nice and dry. I'm expecting to see purely dry setups. Again, we don't know what it's going to be like in the feature race or the sprint race, so they may have to adjust according to that. However, we know it's going to be spicy, that's for sure.
Yeah, and if we do have wet races, that will be a very good test of who's really been practicing the circuit and who haven't, because that can sometimes make the difference between who does well in the races and who doesn't, is who's ready for every situation possible. And that applies to F1 as well.
Oh, yeah, this is it, but alongside that, one of the main factors that's going to come into this is the qualifying. Because, yes, in the F1, the qualifying is all about physical track position, but in F2s, not only do you get track position, you also get points. So if you are in pole position at the end of this, you will gain yourself a good couple of points, 4 points I think it is in fact, which is huge. Going into the weekend, that's 4 massive point lead. That's effectively finishing what, is it P8? I think P8 gets 4 points, doesn't it?
I believe it's P8, yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm on board with Just Chilling at the minute, who's coming towards turn 3. Oh, that's not how you want to do it. He's just stamped on the brakes a bit too much, and he has been commentators cursed to death. So we are going to go to Duxie B, who's currently up there at the front. He's looking pretty clean, pretty consistent. Aviator, who's usually here and he's usually pretty quick in the F2 cars, is just ahead of him with Beaker just a little bit further than that. I think Beaker's calling is actually F2 cars. This guy just seems to be able to really take these cars and smash it on the circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw it last season. He's able to just extract the absolute maximum out of that car. Obviously, he can get a lot of the F1 car, but in the F2 cars, maybe it's just that there's a little bit less pressure. Obviously, still not a little tiny bit, but he just seems to get everything out of that car that he possibly can, and it shows in qualifying.
Well, Duxie B just invalidated, Aviator, just invalidated coming through turn 12. Just got a little bit too much on the curb there, and that sent him all the way to the back alongside Piloto, another regular that we see in the F2 cars. He's not yet found his groove in F1 2020, I don't believe. Well, clearly not if he's got an invalidation. But again, the race is where he seems to come into his element. He does kind of strike me as like a Sebastian Vettel, the kind of guy who's much better when he starts at the front and just seems to always win. But here comes Beaker then to the line. He'll get himself pole position. That's 4 points in his pocket with Duxie B in P2. Hardy in P3 with, that is Badger actually in P4, chasing him down.
Yeah, I was about to ask whether that Scottish Panda was in fact her own Horn Badger.
It is.
And thank you for the confirmation.
You're welcome. You're actually welcome. So yeah, Beaker getting the 4 points, Duxie B getting P2, Hardy getting P3, Badger in P4, Just Chilling in P5 with Marquez in P6, Tiger Jr. P7 with Maku being the only other driver to actually get a time on the board, as we lost Piloto and Aviator due to invalidations, and Burrito Bandito didn't set a time at all. So there's your top 8. Now also remember, when it comes from the feature race into the sprint race, the top 8 get flipped and reversed. So those that finish in P8 will actually get pole position for the sprint race, and obviously vice versa. So don't expect it to just be all done and dusted the second the first race is over. Yes, you get the most points there, but the hard part is actually working your way back through the pack again later in that sprint race to try and get you those extra points.
Yeah, absolutely. If you come maybe second or third in the feature race and you get caught up in the sprint race behind traffic and others around you can push ahead, you're going to lose out, and you could maybe go down 1 or 2 positions, maybe even 3 if you're very unlucky in the overall standings for the weekend.
Yeah, exactly. It's very important that you are consistent. You're important that you avoid carnage as much as possible. Obviously, Australia turn 1, we saw it in both in real life and virtually. This does have a lot of tendencies to cause crashes, to have a lot of damage, and sometimes even DNFs as you come into it. I think Bottas actually ran off, if I remember correctly, last year. Straight into turn 1, he went straight off onto the grass. So, yeah, even the pros, they struggle here too. But we are now doing the formation lap here in the F2 races. Beaker's going to be leading us around, and all drivers are all on the same compound, which is quite crucial when it comes to this race. 8 laps of this feature race. Remember, it's a 25% race, and then after this, we're going to have a 25% sprint race. But I believe that actually only does 6 laps. I could be wrong. We've had 2 drivers that have been reset to the grid. Another 2 to go with that now. So 4 drivers have been reset to the grid and removed from the formation lap.
And crucially, look who one of them is. Aviator, someone who I believe invalidated his lap in qualifying. I was actually going to talk about how he can make his way through the field. If he's going to be starting on cold tyres, because I believe skipping the formation lap or being taken out of the formation lap does make a difference to your tyre temps, this is going to be a very tricky race for him now if he can't get a good start.
Yeah, exactly. The tyre temperatures will cause... Oh, Beaker almost had a moment there. Yeah, the tyre temperatures are obviously going to be crucial here. You need to make sure you got temperatures just right. And in the F2 cars as well, the lower gears, I mean, it's now the case in the F1 cars as well. You know, Gear 1, Gear 2 is actually really difficult to control the back end of the car. Like, you have to be so smooth and sometimes even short shift. In the F1 cars, it's easier to the short shift because the gear ratios are a bit shorter. Whereas in these F2 cars, you're riding in those lower gears for much longer. So there's a lot longer a time where you can actually lose the back end if you make a mistake coming through any sort of sweepy corners, especially looking into the chicane of around turn 12. I've seen many cars not only invalidate or get penalties there, but also physically crash out there and say goodnight to the rest of their race, which nobody wants that, ideally. They'll be keeping that in their mind as we go through the circuit.
And actually, I'm going to ask, who would you like to be on board with for the start of this race?
I kind of want to watch JC. I think just chilling. He's in the F1 cars. I'd say he's probably one of the best out of this bunch. But in the F2 cars, it's a completely different beast. But I want to see what he can bring with him into these F2 cars. You know, I think he's got a lot of skill, a lot of knowledge that he could carry it out into this race. It's just deploying it, making sure that he executes this absolutely swiftly.
Yeah, obviously different game, but same cars, so hopefully not too much of a difference, and hopefully you can do well.
All right, here we go then. So the lights are on. We have Beaker leading us away. And with JC now, can he get the start of dreams? The lights are out. And we are starting our F2 season here in the Rwagnation League. It looks pretty clean for the majority of drivers. Nobody really had any accidents coming on the throttle. In towards turn 1 then. Just Chilling is actually managing to make a move. And he's into P4. There's a lot of tails kicking out there. I tell you something, they did very well to keep that one going. There has been a mistake at the back. There's Tiger Jr. and Piloto Pyre, it looks like. Or at least Tiger Jr. for sure. More mistakes and stuff coming into turn 3. A little bit of a back end being touched there. I believe that was Aviator getting a little bit of prompt, and he's off into the wall. That is wing damage. That was not Aviator. Who was that? Was that McCoo? Or is it somebody else? I can't figure out based on the car liveries who is where. But Beaker, I think, is still race leader. We'll have to wait until lap 3 for sure when the telemetry fixes on the left-hand side.
No, Beaker is actually third. He made a mistake in turn 1 and fell behind Hardy and Dexy. He's trying to make a move on Hardy now down the inside to make it stick. He's very squirmy on the brakes. He has made it stick. We've seen people struggling with the traction now. This corner now, Hardy's going to have a look back at him down the inside. They're both going to be running at similar speeds heading to chicane. Hardy with a little bit of overspeed though. Beaker on the outside. Oh, and Hardy's just driven a little bit wide. It's hit Beaker. I don't think there's any damage on either car. And Beaker stays ahead.
Yeah, they've done a very good job to keep themselves both together because they went, going side by side through there is very difficult. Hardy's taking a very defensive line, and that's Badger just getting a bit locked up on the rear there. He's caused himself to rotate the car. He's keeping himself out of the way. He doesn't want to get an unsafe rejoin, which is very smart and good heads up from him there. But he is dropping places like crazy, and Just Chilling also dropped back as well. So Duxie B is your race leader as we come towards the end of the first lap with Beaker in P2. Hardy stays in P3. And Marquez, Cozy in P4.
Someone's gone off on the main straight behind. I believe it's McCoo. Looks like he just lost it at the exit of the last corner, and he's got wing damage on the right-hand side. So that could be his hunt for a top 6 over, as he's really struggling on the entry to corners now.
Yeah, there's a couple of people on the circuit that have got broken wings, that's for sure, and that is really not helping their case at all. Aviator is one of them. He's on the back of Piloto Pyre. These have very much gone toe-to-toe in the past, over the previous titles, over previous seasons, and it's been fantastic. I've enjoyed watching them every single time.
Yeah, obviously it's a bit different now, because I believe Piloto just passed Aviator early in the lap with his damage. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1.
That's
Suddenly Sam behind the Burrito Bandito. He's gone round. I don't know if there was contact or that was on his own. It was on his own.
Yeah, he just lost the rear. Just couldn't quite keep his car in check. And that's Hardy about to lose position here to Marquez. Marquez trying to get around the outside. He ran a bit wide there. Hardy's trying to make the most of his line as he can. He's going to take the widest line into the corner. Oh. There's a touch, but they've kept themselves alive. Good handling there from Hardy to keep the car pointing in the right direction. But look at this. We've now got Piloto and Aviator both stacked up on the back of this. Piloto's had a little bit of a disconnection there, and he's still in the race. But now Aviator's allowed to go through him. He's driven right through him. Piloto somehow carried the pace and brought it back and held on to P5 and already looking to size up Hardy.
Yeah, Hardy actually got damage with Marquez when they went into the chicane. He was on the outside. Marquez, I'm not sure if he was expecting Hardy to be there. He should have. Oh, there's a big knock-on collision. Is that more damage for Aviator?
I think it is. I'm pretty sure I just saw the left wing there, the left end plate, sorry, disappear from his car. Piloto did lose a position as a result, but that was, yeah, a bit unfortunate for Aviator there.
So he's now going to be missing both end plates, which is going to give Piloto all the tools he needs to try and have a pass going into turn 3. Can he get it done? No, he's a bit too far back, but definitely in the higher speed corners especially, he should have a very good chance to just swoop by and have a go at Hardy for the top 4, as Marquez seems to be trying to get away now.
Yeah, and the gap is starting to expand quite heavily for the rest of the pack here as Aviator and Piloto about to go at it again. Piloto had looked down the inside. Aviator blocked it. Piloto's got a better run through the corner. Here he comes in, switchback of dreams. Is he going to get the exit he needs? It's pretty neck and neck to be truthful, but I think Piloto will actually get the position. Yes, he does, unless Aviator can somehow work his magic and bring himself back in front again.
Yeah, well, Aviator's come back at him and he's nearly just chopped off another bit of front wing with a collision. As I believe that's Burrito who's gone around again at the same corner, but yeah, Aviator, he's just not in a good place to try and fight anyone at the moment, is he? He's going to have DRS, but unless Piloto makes a dreadful mistake, there's not going to be much he can do. Actually, Piloto, I expected him to DRS, he hasn't. So maybe Aviator can try an audacious move. No, he's staying behind, that's very wise of him. I think he knows he can't really stick with him much with that front wing damage.
Yeah, I mean, he's already struggling. Look at that. He tried to go on the brakes a bit more than he necessarily needed to there, but again, you have to because he hasn't got the turn-in ability that he needs in order to be able to keep the pace with Piloto. And the gap's still pretty close. Aviator will have DRS, whereas I don't believe Piloto does. Oh, he does, sorry, he does. So Hardy's actually got himself a little bit of breathing room, but Piloto is charging in quick, and that time is dropping.
Yeah, and remember, Hardy has still got that damage with Marquez. I believe it's on the right-hand side. His right end plate is gone. So, especially on the left turns, he's really going to be struggling, and there's a left turn coming up. So, it's going to be interesting to see how Piloto tries to line this up. Is he going to go for different lines? Is he going to wait for a straight? He's going for it now, by the looks of it. In the inside, no, he waits. But look at Aviator. He's sniffing on the back of Piloto now. And if Piloto doesn't get past Hardy soon, Aviator might have another go.
Oh, Piloto's made a mistake. Oh, that is heartbreaking. He just tried to carry the momentum. He lost the back end. He caught it. He kept himself out of the wall, but he's in trouble. Speaking of in trouble, here comes Maku on JC. He's trying to get down the inside. He's got the better grippy tires, but he hasn't yet got the pace he needs in order to secure a nice, simple overtake on Just Chillin'. He should be able to get it done on the home straight, though. There is a move also happening for Aviator and Hardy. Aviator's through. He's up now into P4. Hardy's still kind of there, but you can never count Hardy out. He seems to be able to just recover as we go through these this awkward chicane here for him. And he's going to have DRS as well, a little bit on the curbs there. And no, I think Aviator's safe now.
Yeah, but also look out for Piloto. He had a really good speed out of the chicane. He's got right back up to these two. And this is a very interesting dilemma. The one in front has the most damage. The one in the middle has the second most damage. And the one at the back has the least damage.
Yeah.
As the one with the least damage going around the outside of Hardy. Is he actually going to pull this off? I think he does. That extra turn in just helping him. A great move from Piloto as he goes hunting after the limping Aviator.
Yeah, and look at our race leader who's been caught up now by Beaker, who's going for a move for the race lead. He's going to be an outside through turn 3. He's going to have to really carry the momentum through. He's locked up and he's got, oh my word, he almost lost the back end there. He has definitely kept himself in this, but that could have been tragic for Beaker.
Yeah, I'm actually very surprised by how many people are struggling under the brakes in some of these corners.
Oh, no! Hardy and Piloto came together and Hardy's just gone spearing off into the wall. And he has severe wing damage now. There is no doubt in my mind that he has the worst wing on the grid as a result. But he's still in with a chance of finishing in the top 7, because look how far back Burrito Bandito is. He has struggled. Maku and JC have also had issues too, but they are closing in. I think Hardy has enough time to pit and get back out again.
Yeah, and Maku going around the outside of Burrito at the outside. I don't know if Burrito has like a really bad issue. He's going incredibly slowly through the corners, but it doesn't look like he has much damage, if any damage at all. Just Chillin might have a go at him in the first corner, although I don't think he had DRS going into that first corner. But Burrito, he's very slow into the corners, and I don't think he has damage, so it's very weird what's going on there. As I believe there are still a couple of battles going on. Piloto and Aviator, they're going at it again, and I think that's Piloto round, and that could be the final overtake between these two now.
And this is big, because Piloto needs these points. You know, that again, you get more points in the feature race than you do in the sprint race, but we have our race leaders going at it. Duxby's gone deep into turn 1, and that's allowed Beaker to just smack it down the inside, easily take race leader back, and he has already built up a nice half a second gap. And again, remember, there's no ERS on these cars. It's all reliant on the driver's skill. You can't even change the fuel mode, so you do have to fully get it all together if you want to achieve greatness. And Hardy with a penalty.
Duxie's gone round. He was trying to catch after Beaker, but he just completely got on the throttle too early, lost the rear end, and now, if he makes another mistake, Marquez could be in the running for a top 2 finish, as Hardy has pit. I believe you said that before, and Maku is way behind, so he should be able to come out in 7th place.
But Beaker now has actually got such a huge lead. He can actually just cruise a little bit now. He doesn't actually have to worry too much. He just, you know, limp his way around the track if he has to. But he's got no damage as far as I know, so he doesn't actually have to do that if he doesn't want to. Just Chillin is coming for a nice P8 finish if he can get past Maku. Now, they had a bit of a battle earlier, and Maku did pass. If Just Chillin can jump Maku, he will start in race lead position for the next race. Bear that in mind. That is very crucial to anybody who's in this top 8. You want to try and be as close to the front of the grid as you can. But if you're a P9, you're the one who loses out most, because not only do you not get any points, sorry, you do get points, but not very many. You also don't get to jump up the field, which is big. So we'll see about that later. Badger getting himself a 2-second penalty, but he has a huge gap now to Hardy due to that pit stop. I think Hardy should be able to hold on to P7 here, which again will put him in P2 at the start of the next race.
Yeah, and that'll be huge for him. If he can start on the front row, obviously I think earlier he was running in the podium positions very close with Duxie and Beaker, so on the front row he could have a very good chance at a podium in the sprint race. Obviously it would have been nice to have it in the feature race, but you can't always have it your way. And actually JC is catching Maku, which is surprising me, considering 1, Maku has the fastest lap, and 2, he is on the Superstar, so I suppose maybe those are wearing already.
Or JC has finally found out how to manipulate these cars to the best of his ability, which is what we want to see. You know, he is a brilliant driver in the F1 cars. The F2 cars obviously are very different beasts. They're very heavy. They are very understeery. It's very easy to lose the rear end because of the turbo that these cars have got. You just got to try and keep it all together. And I think he's, like you said earlier, I think the braking is the hardest part. I think that's the thing everybody's struggling with. I think he's now starting to come to grips with how you need to brake in these cars.
Yeah, that sort of learning how the car is during a race kind of thing it's kind of sort of staying intermittent at the moment, isn't it? Sort of 1.82 seconds kind of area. So unless he can catch up, or unless Piloto can catch up to Marquez, that's the next closest battle, I believe. It's looking like this might be the final race order before penalties are applied.
I think even if Beaker did get a penalty or 2, at this point he could get 3 2-second penalties and still be safe to the drivers behind. So that's important. Duxby, who was doing a very good job of being our race leader, straight off the bat as well, he just shot off into race lead. And that helped him out massively, whereas Beaker did struggle. He did end up falling back a little bit more than he necessarily wanted to do. He did have to fight in order to get back into race lead position, but he's done it, and he's done it in such a way that, yes, he's been helped by the mistake from Duxby, but he's also got himself up at the front by 8.2 seconds.
Yeah, Duxie in a very good position. And actually, Piloto, a little bit squeaky. He's really closing up to Marquez, so we might have one final fight. And another touch on the penalties. No one in the top 5 has a single penalty. The first one, in terms of the order of who's where, that has a penalty, is Badger in P6, but obviously 33 seconds ahead of Hardy. He's got absolutely nothing to worry about as long as he doesn't make a mistake. So it looks like Piloto is the only one who could change a race position here on the last lap.
Yeah. Yeah, fair play to him. He's really pushing it. And you saw it earlier, like you said, when he was braking, the car was very unhappy with how he was pushing it. And it did lock up. Marquez under attack now. Piloto Paya working his magic to close in on him. Marquez takes a bit of an awkward line through there. DRS is available for Piloto. 3/10 is the gap now, which in F1 would have been very easy overtake. In F2s, that's an eternity. He's trying to work his way down the inside if he can get it. Not quite the maneuver he wanted. Beaker's coming through the final corner now. Duxby's a few seconds behind him, and he might actually be able to secure P2 without any problems if he doesn't get any penalties. Marquez, this is for P3. Piloto Paya, can you get the drive out of this final corner? Much better than Marquez, who just gets a little bit on the curb. I think he's got this now. This is going to be a drag race all the way to the line. Marquez is in trouble. Where does Piloto go? Is it going to be thousandths? Oh, it's so close, but Marquez will lock in the third step of the podium. Piloto Paya pushed as hard as he could. He just could not quite get that P3 locked in, but still, a P4 is good points.
Yeah, that is very, very good. And actually, I've just realized with Beaker, if he can drive a really good sprint race, he could get a perfect weekend in the first race of the season. How incredible would that be?
Well, almost perfect. A perfect weekend would also include him getting the fastest lap, which McHugh still holds. Granted, it's very marginal though. It's, you know, it was very marginal between them. It literally would have been a tenth, half a tenth to separate the two of them. So, you know, Beaker's doing almost a perfect weekend. If he could get in the next one, he's only one fastest lap away from actually getting the perfect weekend, like you say. We've only had one person ever actually successfully get a perfect weekend. That was Bottas, gang, if you can remember. It was an incredible series of races. Yeah, he really held his own.
Yeah, that really was incredible to watch. And if Beaker can replicate it here, that's really going to, first of all, show the F2 drivers, oi, I'm someone to be, I'm a threat to all of you. And then also, it could be a thing to all the F1 teams. If one of their drivers is underperforming, it's like, you know, I got a perfect weekend F2. You know, I'm available for sign up. So he is really impressing at the moment.
Well, Beaker getting that win here in the first feature race. It's a massive 25 points that he needed, along with his already existing 4 that he got from qualifying. Means his race weekend is off to a fantastic start with 29 points. We'll get the full points rundown in just a second for you, as well as the grid layout. There it was. Beaker getting the win. He didn't get the fastest lap. Obviously, that went to McCoon, so he's going to get those extra 2 points, which ties him up with Hardy. So there's a battle and a half coming into this next race, and they will be P1-2 at the beginning of this next race. Duxie B, who had a bit of a spin, is in P2. Marquez obviously getting the third step of the podium, albeit barely, because it was so marginal between him and Piloto, as Piloto had such a good exit through the final corner, charging up to the line, but just could not quite lock in P3. Aviator P5, Badger P6, Hardy P7, McHugh P8. Like we said, the top 8 will get flipped and reversed, so it'll be McHugh and Hardy in P1-2, and then the rest all the way down to Beaker, who will be in 8th place. And then Just Chillin' will be in P9 coming into the next race. He got those 2 points, and Brito got the final point, and then Tiger Jr., who DNF'd immediately, will have to start at the very back coming into this race. But in terms of the actual weekend, like I say, everything's the same. The only thing that's different is Beaker has those extra 4 points, and McHugh has the 2. So between the two of them, between him and Hardy, sorry, it is a very tight battle between them. You know, obviously you've got Badger, who's only 2 points ahead of that. And again, with one solid race, you could easily fix all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. If he can get a solid race, that'll fix everything. So, as for some reason the timer still hasn't come up, so we could be waiting a while. As we have migrating hosts, is there anything to worry about?
It depends. I think Beaker's host.
Yeah, he is. He's exited the game. I believe his game may have crashed.
Ah.
Yeah, he's just re-entered the game, so this may well be a rehost.
Potentially, but the F1 2020 game has actually done a very good job of keeping the cars in the race still. So we may not have to rehost. We actually have Matt joining us here, though, so that's good. Positivity in the workplace. He should actually be able to take part in this sprint race. The chances of him getting anything massive here, I mean, he could still do well. If he could start from the back of the grid and work his way to the very front, you know, there may be a massive jump. He might even find himself, P4, P5? I think it's impossible for him to get anything higher than that now. But 15 points is what you can get in this first race. 2 more if you get the fastest lap as well. So 17 points up for grabs for any driver. And Beaker, if he can rejoin, is going to be looking to do just that. I'm going to help him out by just chucking him a little cheeky invite.
Yes, I have done so as well, so hopefully he can get back in before the start of the race.
Yeah, we do have a formation lap. I
His
don't
car is
see... Oh, his car is there. Yep, his car is there. So, good.
And I believe that is the... Yeah.
From a league race perspective, Codemasters have actually really helped us out there. That is a massive assist, if you like, when it comes into it. Because if somebody had disconnected in between races, like if you're going from qualifying into race, and even in the F1s, you'd have to rehost the whole thing. Whereas now you don't have to. He will be able to rejoin. He will miss the start. He won't be able to drive the start, but the second the lights go out, he can take control of his car. He's just going to have to pray that his AI can do a good enough job of keeping himself out of trouble. Beaker will need to hurry up and get in here, though.
Yeah, and actually something I'd like to point out, look at the variation of tyres. We have the top two, the front row, both on medium tyres. Then third to fifth on super softs, Marquez on the mediums. And then Duxie and Beaker, arguably the two quickest so far, on those super softs. Obviously, I think last year we figured out that they can't actually pick their tyres for the second race, but that's still very interesting to look at.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to make a quite a substantial difference when it comes to how they actually handle this track. We'll have to just wait and see what they do.
Yeah. So I would say probably the three main things to look at. Hardy and Meku, that's going to be very interesting because those two are completely matched on points at the moment. So it's going to be a very literal case of whoever finishes ahead will be ahead in the weekend standings. Then Aviator and Piloto, that's going to be interesting. They'll both have all of their wings back. They're going to be on the same tyres, and they are starting in the top half of the grid. And then Duxie and Beaker to see if they can climb back through the grid.
Yes, indeed. We are still waiting to see if Beaker is actually going to rejoin. I've not seen a message say that he's rejoined or not. So
no,
fingers crossed he can get back in. Let me just tell him that he can actually get back in. Oh, he might actually be back. He says multiplayer Australia, so he may be back.
Maybe he's waiting to get back. Maybe it'll only say it when the race starts. That could be the thing.
Potentially. But it's going to be Meku and Hardy at the front of the grid, like you said, on the medium tyres. So the start is actually going to be a problem for them in comparison to the drivers behind. We're looking at Badger, Aviator, and Piloto, who arguably are... or were a little bit quicker in that previous race. We'll see now then. As we are on the grid, the lights are on for the final F2 race here. It's go time, lights are out. Maku's got a pretty solid start. Who's that? Who's had a bit of an issue there? MP3, that was Badger. Oh no, big crash there. Is that Tiger Jr. who's had an issue? No, it's not. I don't know who exactly that was at the very back. Is that Aviator?
No, it's Burrito Bandito again.
Oh, he's on a nightmare of a race. Hardy's under attack here from Aviator, who's had a beautiful start coming into turn one. Then he's going to get that move done. Hardy has a chance to get the switch back, but Aviator's just about locked that one down. What a phenomenal run from Aviator.
Incredible. He's already up into, I believe, the lead. My timing board is very glitchy at the moment. It's saying Burrito is the leading, which we know for certain he isn't. But a very, very good start from Aviator. And if he can keep those cars between him and Piloto, I can't really see anyone else winning this, to be honest.
Hardy's under attack as well. Who's that? I'm not sure who's attacking him. Is that Meku? It is Meku. They are together. Again, the super soft tyres worked wonders for the others. There's contact between them. No damage. That's going to be a bit of a scare there for Hardy, though. And now we're coming into a very difficult area to go side by side. Is Meku going to back out? Yes, he does. Very good. Smart driving from him there to make sure he doesn't cause a crazy collision between them. It does mean, though, that he is under attack from Piloto Paya, who's not afraid to stick his nose on the inside. He's not afraid to be later on the brakes, and he's going to do exactly that as he's alongside Meku. The extra tyres grip helping him, but no, they've crashed off into the wall. That is a big shunt. And I think there's I definitely see wing damage. I think Piloto's wing has gone. I think Meku may have avoided damage. No, his right wing is just in bits, and he's retired. He's decided enough is enough. He's out of here. And that is yellow flags everywhere.
Yeah, and Piloto's lost his right end plate, so not the whole wing is gone, but that is effectively raised over Piloto, which is very disappointing for him. Obviously, I don't think he'll be overly happy with that. And it does look like... Actually, no, I don't think Beaker's back in the car.
I think he is.
Is he?
Yeah. The way that he was taking the corners earlier, it looked very much like he was
yeah,
driving.
no, he definitely is. Yeah, yeah, I've just had a look.
Good. Badger's ran a bit wide there, which is not good. He's struggling here.
Tiger Jr. is going around the outside. Is he going to make it stick? Or is it going to be closer game side by side through the long right-hander? And Tiger Jr. makes it stick. And now look at Just Chillin'. He's going down the inside of One Badger. Is he going to try and Tiger Jr.? No, he's too far back. But that was not a good few set of corners for Badger. But no, he's coming back at Just Chillin' now. Can he redeem himself on the inside? It could be a battle of the late breakers. Obviously, Badger also on the super softs, Just Chillin' on the medium, so that could be a factor.
He's holding it as well. Look at that. He's actually got the position back. He sent it down the inside, very controlled on the break-in, and Just Chillin' will fall back to P7. But the main concern here now is that gap between him and Tiger Jr. is extended. It's over the 1 second margin that they need for DRS, so they are both going to be at a bit of a loss here, unless they could bring it in.
Yeah, I honestly, if I was Just Chilling, I would either try and get past as quickly as possible. Like now, with Badger making another mistake, that's falling him back to 7. So now with Just Chilling, it's get back into that 1 second as quickly as humanly possible to get that DRS and go for that top 5.
You know, and it being a 25% sprint race means obviously there are only 6 laps, so you only actually have 4 laps where DRS is available. So you will have to make sure it is as clean as can be. Is that Burrito Bandito? Yep, he's retired. He is done and dusted then, so he will not be participating in the remainder of the race, but there is still only the top 8 that will actually score points. Piloto will be missing out because the top 8 are the only ones who do actually score here. Aviator, who is miles up the field now, has actually ran away a little bit. 5.5 seconds as Burrito's car, you can see in the middle of the road. And that would have been a safety car if it was anything more than a 25% race, but Beaker is on Hardy. He's going to look for a move. This is going to be a bit of a send here. I think he's going to have to take it a bit easy. I think he's just about done it. Yes, he has. Hardy P3, Beaker up to P2 now.
Yeah, a good move from Beaker. It's just what he needed to do. Nothing overly audacious, and he's up into P2. Question is, can he catch up to Aviator, or is that gap too big now?
Yeah, I mean, Beaker's got a huge lead already anyway in terms of the actual driver's standings. All Beaker needs to do is just kind of finish in P2. If he can get himself a fastest lap as well, that'd be even better. He'd be able to secure that even more, but Aviator is giving it the full works. He wants the fastest lap. He's on the right tyres for it. He also wants to try and make sure that he doesn't have any penalties or anything, because if he does, that could literally be the difference maker. Yes, it's 5.6 second gap currently, but Beaker is rapid in these F2 cars. I want to see that gap close down, and I want to see Aviator starting to sweat.
Yeah, and actually, Beaker's already closed up by nearly a second, because when he got past Hardy, it was just over 6 seconds. It's now only 5.4. So Beaker is smashing that car, and he's already got over a 2-second gap to Hardy, who might be falling back into the clutches of Marquez. So I really think if Beaker can wrestle this car through the corners, we might just about have a last lap scrap.
Well, Just Chillin's actually made a massive momentum shift here between him and Tiger Jr. He's got himself right into a 2/10 gap between him and Tiger Jr. And if it's a single mistake made by Tiger Jr., then JC will slip on down. But we've seen mistakes from JC too. We've seen a lot of lockups from him, especially in that first race. He just could not seem to keep the braking under control, and that caused him to have a lot of back-end kickouts. In fact, he did end up completely rotating the car at one point. But P6 right now, on the back of Tiger Jr., ready to take P5 away from him if he gets a chance. Is he going to go for a send it here? Tiger Jr. goes for the cover. That's just a really good heads-up driving from him, but that means that JC can try the outside. It was very marginal, but he has made that one work. Beautiful overtake there from JC.
Yeah, and look at Duxie. He had a perfect view of that, and now he's going to have a perfect look at Tiger Jr. and Just Chillin' if they don't get but good exit. And look, Tiger Jr., he's already got it before the exit. I don't think Tiger Jr. is damaged, so that was purely a driver error. That's let Duxie into 6. Now they can go hunting after Just Chillin'.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You know, this is really, really good stuff to see. Now, how does Beaker continue to keep the scrap up though? 4.3 seconds is the gap. It's dropped dramatically since the last time we checked it, but he is running out of time. We've got 2 laps to go. This one and the next, and that's JC made a mistake. Duxby's through. He's up into P5. JC has to get his act together if he wants to fight this. The other thing that's going against him is the tire. Super soft tires on Duxby, medium compound tires on JC's. The grip just isn't there. Yeah,
I think that is the main thing he's struggling with at the moment. It's just they're not warming up to the the grips that he needs them to be to push them as hard as he wants to push them. And you can just see it, Duxie having so much more grip in the corners, and it's really compromising him. If he was on the Superstar, so I imagine he'd be right back in that fight with him. And look, he's gone all the way off. And Tiger Jr.'s going to be careful. Just so he got right out of the way, so very good from him to not have an unsafe rejoin. But it allows him down to 7th. Both positions they've lost due to mistakes. So...
Yeah, I mean, looking at the way JC was pushing there, it was clearly just trying to recover the time he's lost to Duxie earlier, and I think he just pushed his limits a bit too far. Lost the car and ended up, like you say, almost ended up in the wall. He did a very good job to keep the control of the car through the grassy section. Tiger Jr.'s take a very tight line there. It's the defensive move has worked, at least for now, but DRS is available to JC, and all that's done really is cause him to lose a lot of time. And I think now JC realizes what he's got to do. He's trying to look for the inside line. He just can't find the gap, hasn't found a maneuver, and he's still stuck behind Tiger Jr. whilst that gap just keeps increasing.
Yeah, and after seeing how Tiger Jr.'s gone through that chicane twice now, if I was JC, I'll just stay back, wait until that chicane and try and get him on the exit, because that's twice now Tiger Jr.'s lost a lot of time there. Meanwhile, up ahead, Duxie is caught up to Marquez, so we now have 2 battles going on at the same time, which is not going to be fun to try and keep up with. Just Chilean seems to be a bit closer. Tiger Jr. again, very defensive. That's going to leave JC. Oh, and collision. He's round.
He's caught it, but he's lost another position, and that is a very frustrated JC. Understandably, I think it was a racing incident. Realistically, looking at it, it looked like Tiger Jr. did come back out a little bit, but also looked like JC was trying to hold him tight to the line as much as he possibly can. I don't think there's going to be anything more than what already happened, but that does mean now there is realistically one fight properly left to go. We are on the final lap. Duxie B is looking for Marquez. We also have Badger, who is basically picking up where JC left off. He's attacking Tiger Jr. where he can. He's just got to find a little opportunity. And we saw, actually, if you look at him here, he did do a move through this series of corners on JC earlier. He might be able to repay the favor, as Duxie B is so close to Marquez now. Surely he's going to get him in the DRS zone here.
Yeah, Marquez taking a very slight slice of line, and look to what that's done. There's been a collision, very slight, but still collision. Duxie nearly spinning it. Very good to catch it. And things, will Duxie try it now, or will he wait for the straight? He goes to the outside. Is he going to go for the switchback? Maybe, but it's not quite enough. It looks like it's going to be another drag race finish here. And they are close to Hardy, but obviously they've run out of time. Is he going to go for it here? He has.
It's
I
a
think
move.
He's going to make it stick.
There's the switchback, though. That's the thing that Marquez has got going for him. It's a very similar... Marquez is on the other side of where he was before with Piloto Paya. This time, it's going to be a drag race he's on the receiving end of, and he's going to have to push, but it looks like Duxie B has secured P4. Marquez will take P6. Badger will cross the line in P7, albeit barely, because JC was right on the back end of him there. Those top 8 will score points, and our sad driver in P9, Mr. Piloto Paya, will find himself in a spot of bother.
Yeah, I don't think Piloto is going to be happy with that race at all. Just, if that incident hadn't happened, he very easily, I think, could have at least challenged for the podium, maybe even had a battle with Beaker, but it all just went wrong, I believe, with that collision with Marquez, which in the end actually cost Marquez P4, that damage. So, unfortunate race, but big hats off to him for actually finishing the race and not just retiring, like I believe think Maku did after they had a collision. Oh, and he's gone round at the last corner for extra measure. Yeah, it's not been a great day for him.
No, I mean, he had a fantastic first race towards the end. Yeah, the start was a bit lackluster, shall we say. I mean, he did obviously start right near the back. He did invalidate his lap, which caused him to start so far back. And obviously, the issue you got there is you got to avoid carnage. You can't afford to be caught up in anything. But yeah, it is what it is. We will see what happens next. But Beaker gets driver of the day vote here, and I believe now he's also secured the overall weekend win. But we need to get that final points countdown, because Aviator did successfully take P1. It was Beaker in P2 and Hardy in P3, and that P3 there for Hardy should put him, I believe, P5. We'll have to check. Might even be P4 for all I know. I'm going to have to confirm that in just a second. In fact, let's get that now. The rundown is as follows. Avia getting the win. Beaker P2, Hardy P3, Duxy B P4, Marquez P5, Tiger Jr. P6, Badger P7, and JC P8. They're the only ones getting the points. Pilotopai did get 2 because he got the fastest lap of everyone else, so that does help him a little bit. And then the DNFs were Burrito Bandito, Maku, and Matt. But the overall weekend win is Beaker, who secures it by quite a margin. 41 points for Beaker there. He did a very good job to have such a huge start, which I think ultimately made the massive amount of difference. And Duxy B P2 by 1 point ahead of Aviator, who scored a win in the second race, but it wasn't enough to him to get P2. Aviator will finish P3. Marquez P4, Hardy P5, Pilotopai P6, Badger P7, Maku P8, Tiger Jr. P9, JC P10, Burrito Bandito P11, with Matt in last place. But bear in mind, he only joined for the final race anyway, so fair play to him in that respect. Now, we are going to move over to the F1 races in just a second. Don't go anywhere. The action continues.